It's funny. A friend of mine saw some of my old gym launch content and they were like, dude, have you like taken speech lessons? They're like, I saw an interview with you like in your garage and you were like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, just do shit and make money and go away if you don't want to work, whatever. And, and so, and so, and at that point I'd already closed 4,000 sales. Right.
Interesting.
But I'll give you something that will probably just, discourage some people. I don't think that the sales skill that I had necessarily translated into the content skill. I had to get 4,000 reps here. And so when I say that we make 350 pieces of content every week, I have a lot of reps. And here's the beautiful part about content, in my opinion, is that you get such fast feedback cycles. You can immediately see what happens and what worked and what didn't, right? And then you can learn, you can get better. And not to get into the nuances of like, don't be an algorithm chaser and things like that. But at least from a skill perspective, content is one of those games that you can get really good at really quickly. Sales, you have really fast feedback cycles. You know if the person buys, you can see if they change their body language, whatever. Like, ooh, I shouldn't say that next time. Or, ooh, that worked. Like, I'll say that again, right? Where the problem actually gets in this learning cycle, sometimes you learn the wrong things. Sometimes the person was ready to buy because their friend Sandy preferred them. And then you do something fancy and then she says yes. And it wasn't because of you. She bought despite you, right? And so then you get false status. And this is where like skill acquisition gets really interesting. But overall, I think the reason that I became, quote, more articulate is because I have just committed time to doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme.
Yeah, I have 6 years of podcasts.
Yeah.
The first 4 years that like I just looked at a graph at like yesterday. I looked at a graph and the day that we sold Gym Launch is like it's like a straight line because I stopped. So I started taking all the excess attention that I had from going to the business and taking a portion of that and being like, I'm going to learn this skill. And so it straight line grew after that. But it was like 4 years of flat-ish nothing because realistically, I don't think I took any feedback from my podcast. I just consistently made the podcast. So there's an element there where I'm like, I say this and I'm not saying it to preach. I'm saying it because I lived it, right? Like I made a podcast for 4 years and didn't grow. Right. I did like 400 episodes before it actually like started growing. I got the same 2,000 people who listened every month. That's monthly listens, not daily. Monthly listens of 2,000. Right. Wow. And then I was like, I'm going to try and learn this. And then I started trying to learn it and trying to get better.
Yeah. And one of your core skills is being a good learner, I feel, as well.
So this is a good, I appreciate that. But I'm going to segue into this for the audience is that I think there are skills and there are meta skills. So meta skills are skills that help you learn skills. Right. And so like being a good writer is a meta skill for communication in general. So if I'm a good writer, I'll be good at writing copy. I'll be good at writing emails. I'll be good at writing captions. I'll be good at scripting tweets. I'll be good at making short, like all of those come from one skill, but it's a meta skill, right? If you're good at reading, it's like, well, then I can absorb a lot of information. So I can then learn how to write copy. I can learn how to make ads. I can learn how to all of those things faster. And so in my opinion, the education system should only be on meta skills so that you become like a stem cell for knowledge. Is that how do we get the person so that they can become anything, right? Like we don't need to teach 17th century Aztec literature. What we should do is teach people how to learn and then let them learn whatever they want to learn. Because people all get interested in something and then when they have the skills, then they can get good at it and then they can make a living doing it.
Okay. $100 million learner. What are some of the chapters here?
Repeat successful actions, get feedback from people who are further ahead than you, expand the time horizon that you measure your output on, but shrink the time horizon that you measure your inputs on. So measure what you do today faster, but measure what happens from what you did today longer. That's it. Like find people ahead of you, figure out what they did if that's what you want to learn, do the inputs and measure them quickly, short-term, get feedback, and then wait a long time until you get the outcome that you want. But I would say instead of optimizing for the outcome, I optimize for progress. And so a lot of my team knows this is that like, I'll tell you a quick story. So when I decided to start making content, I hired a YouTube agency or whatever, because I didn't know anything about any of this stuff, right? Like nothing. It's funny because people were like asking me to talk about content and like, I didn't do this 2 years ago. anyways, I get on the phone and I said, hey, just so you know, I'm committed to doing this for 10 years. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah. I was like, I will follow the system that you outline for 10 years before I need to see an ROI. He was like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. He's like, and that was the first conversation. It was fine or whatever, right? And I told him after that, I was like, to be clear, I was like, I want to make progress. I want to see that our videos are doing better, month over month over month in general, not this video to the next video, but month over month. I want to see that, like, if I'm putting attention to this, that we're getting better. That's all I want to see. And so 6 months in, things started really cranking, right? And I think 9 months in, I ended up saying I'm going to bring the whole team in house, and we had an amicable parting, right? And on the last call that I had with him, he said, I just want to share something with you that has changed my life. And I was like, what? He said, that first call, he said, I have never had anyone in my entire life, friends, family, mentors, ever talk to me about a 10-year time horizon for anything. He's like, every client I sign up is like, I need an ROI in 90 days or I'm not going to pay you. Or like, if this doesn't make me money in a month, like, I'm out, right? And he's like, and it completely shifted the way that I have approached my business, just seeing how you approached YouTube. And I have been in the business game longer than I've been in the content game. And so some of those lessons have carried over for me. And so I'm like, of course it's going to take a while. I'm competing against, Mr. Beast. And I'm not saying competing against him. He's amazing, right? But like, I'm competing against guys who've been doing it for 10 years. Of course they're better than I am. Why would I expect to beat those guys, right? But I'd like to be better in a month or two than I am now. And as long as I have a path towards that, I'm satisfied. And I will continue on that path, because if I can draw the line between now and 20 years from now, then it is a good outcome. And I think that being able to draw the line and say, like, I just want to see that I'm getting better, that's all that people, in my opinion, should focus on. Now, if you're not getting better and you're doing the inputs and you're putting the real time into the thing, then it means you need somebody to give you better feedback. Because if you don't know why you're not doing better, like if I say, hey, editor, make this video better, and they're like, I don't know what to do, that's when you need someone to say, like, here's 6 things that you can do better. And then they're like, oh, so you need the awareness. You need someone to be able to bridge that knowledge gap so that then you can bridge the effort gap.